What's going on, Dolph fans? It is your boy Dillon. It is Monday. I am bringing you my post-game analysis video for you as promised, and I'm happy to report on a victory Monday as the Dolphins managed to get their win in Foxborough against the New England Patriots. And so, what is the headline for today's show? Well, I'd say it's something along the lines of Dillon was wrong about the outcome. I'm happy to admit that. While the Dolphins went out, held out against the New England Patriots to go 1-0 and take sole possession of the division for week one. And it's a beautiful thing. It is a gorgeous thing. But as you guys know, if you watch my channel, there is obviously nuance, there's context, there are details. So we're going to break that down. And that's what this video is about. It is my post-game analysis video. And so let's get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and split my screen here because this is how you guys, if you guys watched my channel last year, then you should know that I like to do a very in-depth breakdown of each games. I go through, and as you can see, I do scores. I do, I actually added a little bit of something to this, but I give you all the stats, the stat breakdowns, and so on and so forth. As you can see, we will get through it. But this time I actually added where our league rankings for, passing yards and so on and so forth. So we're going to get into that, and let's do it. Because there is nuance to this game. And, while it is true that I was ultimately wrong about the outcome, which I am super stoked about, and I'm also a man of my word, right? And I told you guys, listen, go out and beat the New England Patriots. That'll give you 10 wins from me. You will have earned my confidence to get an additional win. And same thing for next week. Go beat the Bills, man. Do it again against the Bills. I'll feel a lot more comfortable with being able to say that we can get 10 plus wins and then hopefully make it to the playoffs. But having said that, of course there are some things that are still pretty big concerns. And ultimately, when it came down to how the game played out and so on and so forth, I actually was, right about a lot of the way that played out, right? And a lot of people agreed, most of us thought it was going to be a generally low-scoring game, which it was. Obviously, the Dolphins won by a margin of 1 point. They had 17 to the Patriots 16. Obviously, we are now 1-0. They are 0-1. We take sole possession of the division because the Jets and the Bills also lost. Thank you to the Steelers for beating the Bills. And thank you to the Panthers for beating the Jets for us. So now we take sole possession. But it was, like I said, a low-scoring game as most of us expected. And it was a defensive-heavy game, which, I said figured to be, because, look, the Patriots offense has a rookie quarterback, a lot of new faces, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't exactly expect them to be prolific, but we did expect them to lean heavily on the run game, which would give Mac Jones the ability to be at least efficient in the pass game, which is what happened, as I expected. And the Dolphins offense, there was some good moments. They definitely had two very good drives, but after that, it was really stagnant, and that offensive line had a horrible day, a really tough time against that really tough New England front. So let's start breaking this down a little bit more with these statistics. So obviously, this top line here is points per game. It's obviously, by the way, this is after week one, but it obviously does not include the Baltimore Ravens and Las Vegas. I was getting ready to say Oakland. The Las Vegas Raiders game, which is played tonight. I'm actually going to watch that game live, and I'll probably also be doing later on tonight my scouting report video for that game because, as you know, both of those teams are on our schedule later in the year, so I will be doing my little mini scouting report video for that later. But so just for the context, keep in mind that game obviously hasn't counted in yet because it hasn't been played. So it's just with the other 15 games that were played this week. But anyway, so as of right now, with that context, kept in the back of our minds, the Dolphins are 10th, as you can see, for points per game in the league after week one, and the Patriots are 13th. Now, when we get to total yards, as you can see, I have the actual number here and here, and then I have the offensive and defensive rankings in the league. Now, look, just a quick bit of commentary before I get into this. Now, in a lot of different aspects, when you get through some of these stats, and even when you were watching the game, like, look, for me, it was super stressful. If you saw my live stream, I was going off. And I told you guys, I don't get my emotions involved until the start of the regular season. But when the season comes around and we got Dolphins football, man, my emotions get really into it. So I get a little wild on my live streams. I think it's fun. I think it's a good time. I curse a lot. It is what it is. And it depends on if it's... But point is, I was stressed out because, look, man, they were running the ball down our throats like I thought they would. I mean, I guess it wasn't that severe. We had a couple nice plays, but they were moving the ball pretty much at will through the run game, and it set up Mac Jones to be efficient in the pass game. That I was worried about that because I felt like whichever offense was more efficient, was going to be the winner, right? So a lot of these and the stats will paint that picture as well. The equalizer in this game ended up being two things: the penalties that they incurred, because they had a bunch of penalties for a bunch of yards that killed drives and stuff like that, including 3 unnecessary roughness penalties, which are 15 yards apiece, and of course the turnovers. So let's go through this now. So total yards, the Dolphins had 259 and the Patriots had 393. So offensively, that puts us at based off of our yards in the game, our total yards for our offense, we are 25th in the league after week 1, not counting tonight's game. They ended up being 14th in the league with theirs. And then defensively, because of their 393 total yards, we are now 19th in the league defensively, and they were 8th in the league because of our 259. All right, passing yards, we had 185 to their 268. We were 27th in the league offensively after week 1. They're 14th. Defensively, we're 20th, and they are 6th. Rushing yards, we had 74. They had 125. Offensively, that puts us at 24th in the league. Defensively, 21st. They are 13th in the league offensively and 10th defensively. So that's what I'm saying, right? So now obviously stats are not the full picture, but that's why I added in, like, for me and my perspective when I was watching the game, it was super stressful, man, because in a lot of ways the Patriots should have won this game. And if it wasn't for those penalties and of course the turnovers, they very well could have, right? So but then when you look at some of these things, and now obviously this is good, these league standings are going to change over the course of the season, but again, after week 1, they clearly had us beat, right? So both offensively and defensively. They even had the edge slightly in yards per play, 5.6 to our 5. They did have the 2 fumbles, though, like I said, which was a major part of the victory, including the forced fumble that Xavier Howard caused at the towards the very end of the game when they were like right about to score. They were super close to scoring, or at least getting another field goal, which would have taken the lead. They didn't even have to put up a touchdown. They just had to, if they couldn't put up a touchdown, all they would have had to do was kick the field goal, and they were well within range to take the lead at that point. So that was obviously the biggest game. That was what saved the game. Anyway, but then, we did throw 1 interception, Tua threw an interception, but look at third down conversion rate. They were at 68%. We were at 36. So that's obviously not good. And time of possession, they had the ball for 36 minutes and 43 seconds to our 23-17. So obviously not even close to ideal. But again, that goes to what the Patriots game plan was run, chew the clock, keep the Dolphins offense on the sideline, and allow the run game to open up some, easy plays and stuff for Mac Jones. But like I said, then we look at penalties. They had 8, we had 5. So it was because of the penalties and the turnovers ended up being the big difference in this game. Yeah, so let's see. Passing, Tua was 16 for, why does that say, oh, I guess I must have messed up because I didn't actually put in, hang on, I'm going to pull it up right now. Dolphins, Tua was, it's 27, so excuse me, I messed up here. Let me go ahead and correct that. So 16 for 27 is what he was on the day, with it, which is 59.3% completion percentage for 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a 79.6 passer rating. On the opposite side, Mac Jones was 29 for 39, a 74.4% passer rating, 281 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, and a 102.6 passer rating. So in a head-to-head matchup on stat lines, unfortunately, Mac Jones did have the better stat line on, face value. But look, that offensive line was giving him plenty of time. Like, he had much cleaner pockets. He was not under anywhere, the kind of pressure that we need to get on quarterbacks. So, that's an area the Dolphins definitely need to improve in. All right, rushing, Myles Gaskin led the way for us. 9 rushes, 49 yards, a 5.4 average. Malcolm Brown had 5 for 16 and a 3.2. Tua had 4 rushes, 1 yard with a 0.3 average, but he did get a rushing touchdown. That was on the first drive of the game for us, right, our first offensive series. Then, let's see. Damian Harris led the way for them, 23 for 100 yards. So they had a 100-yard rusher in week 1. And that's, going to be one of their big strengths this year, right? Their rushing game with a 4.3 average. And James White was 4 rushes for 12 yards and a 3 average. Receiving, Devontae Parker led the way for us, 4 of 7, 81. Jalen Waddle, 4 of 6, 61 and a touchdown. Myles Gaskin, 5 of 5, 27 yards. And Salvon Ahmed, 2 of 3 for 24. Nelson Aguilar led the way for them, 5 of 7 for 72 yards and a score. James White, 6 of 7, 49. And look at this real quick, because again, and this is what I told you was going to be the MO of the Patriots offense too. Not just the run game, but in the pass game, it's going to feature Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry as primary pass catchers, in addition to Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar. But you're also going to see James White, and I think at some point too, you'll probably see some J.J. Taylor in there as well in the passing game. But anyway, where was I? So Jacoby Myers was 6 of 9 for 44. Jonnu Smith, 5 of 5 for 42. Hunter Henry, 3 of 3 for 31. Damian Harris, 2 of 3 for 17. And Kendrick Bourne, 1 of 3 for 17. Real quick too, by the way, because there were obviously some other players that had like receptions and some yards, but my threshold here to get on this list is they have to at least have 10 receiving or rushing yards, depending on what we're talking about, and or a touchdown. So they got to have at least 10 yards and or a score to go on this list. Otherwise, to me, they're just insignificant and didn't have a big enough impact to make my list. All right, and so for defensive statistics, they have to have at least 3 solo tackles or some of these other statistics like sacks, tackles for loss, forced fumbles, etc. So that's my criteria. Let's go through it. Defensive leaders for this game on the Dolphins side was Jerome Baker, 8 solo tackles with 4 assisted. Eric Rowe had 6 solo, 3 assisted, and a forced fumble. Nick Needham had 6 solo tackles. Byron Jones had 5 solo tackles and a pass defensed. Xavier Howard had 4 solo, 1 assisted, and a forced fumble, which was the game saver. Jason McCourty had 4 solo, 1 assisted, and a pass defensed. By the way, and I mean that's the part of it too, is they made sure that Xavier Howard was, almost, completely erased from this game, because they didn't, with the run game being efficient and the way that their passing attack was schemed up and developed, they didn't have to go towards him. So but he found his way to make an impact, and he saved the game with that forced fumble. John Jacobs had 4 solo tackles. Emmanuel Ogbah, 3 solo and a tackle for loss with a pass defense. Zach Sealer had 3 solo tackles and a tackle for loss and a fumble recovery. Brendan Scarlett had 2 solo, 1 assisted with a pass defense. Javon Holland, 2 solo tackles with a forced fumble. and Landon Roberts had 2 solo tackles with a pass defense. And then here you can see the totals. The Dolphins had 57 total tackles with 19 assisted tackles. Good tackle number. I like to see that 57. That's a good number. I would like to see the assisted be a little bit higher, because that's a little bit of an indicator of how well the defense is swarming to the ball and getting, Dolphins helmets there, right? But not a bad number. We won the game, so it's fine. We had 2 tackles for loss. That's solid. 3 forced fumbles. We want to see some sacks, obviously. Didn't get that. But we do like the forced fumbles and the fumble recoveries. And 5 passes defense, pretty solid. Kyle Duggar led the way for them, 5 solo, 1 assisted, and a tackle for loss. Devin McCourty, 4 solo, 3 assisted. Let's see, Juwan Bentley, 4 solo with a tackle for loss. Matt Judon, 3 solo, 1 assisted with a tackle for loss. Dante Hightower, 3 solo, 1 assisted. Let's see, J.C. Jackson, 3 solo with a pass defense. Kyle Van Noy, 2 solo, 1 assisted, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a pass defense. Kyle Van Noy was everywhere for them yesterday. Adrian Phillips, 2 solo, 1 assist. I know Dolphins fans hate that. And I get it. Rivalry. He was here. A lot of Dolphins fans think he sucked, blah, blah, blah. I didn't like the signing to begin with. So let's make that clear. And you can go back and watch my videos. And so I get that. But I think sometimes Dolphins fans get a little bit too, vindictive and stuff. So I don't know. Adrian Phillips was 2 solo, 1 assisted, and 2 tackles for loss. Jalen Mills had 2 solo tackles with a pass defense. Josh Uche had 1 solo tackle, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss. And and Jonathan Jones added an interception and a pass defense. And so their totals, you see they had, which this actually kind of surprised me a little bit, that their total tackle count was so low, but they had only 36 and then 12 assisted tackles, but they did have 2 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, the 1 interception, and then 4 passes defense. So they still had a pretty solid defensive day overall. In the kicking game, Jason Sanders was 1 for 1 on his field goals with a long of 48, 2 for 2 on his extra points. Nick Folk was 3 of 3 on his field goals with a long of 41, 1 for 1 on his extra points. Michael Pilardi had 4 punts, a little more than you would like to see, but with an average of 45. Unfortunately, none were inside the 20 and a long of 52. Jake Bailey had less. He had 2 punts with a slightly longer average of 49 and a half. None were inside the 20, though, with a 62 long. We didn't have any kickoff returns. They had 2, one from Brandon Bolden of 23 yards and one from Gunnar Olszewski, I believe is how you pronounce it. That's how I always hear it pronounced. Had 1 for 17 yards. In the punt game, Jakeem Grant had 1 return for 18, and Gunnar Olszewski had 3 for a 6-7 average. Oh, I'm sorry, there was no touchdown there. That is a mistake. I forgot to take that out from a previous one. And a long of 14. So key points and analysis for this game. Did we win? Yes. Victory for the Miami Dolphins. Again, we are 1-0 and sole possession of the number 1 spot in the division, and we have a 1-game lead on the rest of the division. So quick, like I said, drive by drive, quick breakdown of how it went. In the first quarter, the Patriots received the ball to start the game. Just real quick, normally, so the Dolphins actually won the coin toss, and they chose to take the second half kickoff. In most cases, that's actually what I like to do, and it worked out for them in this game for sure. But this actually, going into this game, this actually was an example of a game where I had an exception. The reason why is because I wanted them to win the coin toss and then take the kick, so that way they could go out on their first drive and hopefully come out to a 7-0 lead, and start off fast. Now, that actually kind of ended up happening anyway, because as you can see, the Patriots ended up having to punt on their first drive, and then we went and scored a touchdown anyway. So it didn't really matter in that regard, but just a quick, side note and a quick interesting difference. But so they had to punt after 7 plays. Then the Dolphins get the ball. And look, this was their scripted series for the first half. And I'm just going to say this. The scripted series that they had in the first half and the second half were great. It was a lot of up tempo and stuff like that, and they moved the ball, relatively well. The run game wasn't really there, but they were moving the ball pretty well. And the offensive line, man, it was pretty scary. But they moved the ball and they went down and got a touchdown. After that, though, the up tempo kind of went away and they just like fizzled out, right? So anyway, we get that touchdown. We go up after 10 plays, 7-0 on our first drive. Then we force a Patriots fumble after 4 plays. Dolphins then go 3 and out on their next series. And to end the first quarter, the Patriots end up kicking a field goal after 14 plays to make the game 7-3. In the second quarter, Dolphins punt after 5 plays on their third drive. Patriots then punt after 4 plays, and then the Dolphins go 3 and out on their 4th drive of the game. Patriots then score a touchdown after 7 plays to make it 7-10. The Dolphins then answer with a field goal after 8 plays on their 5th drive to make it 10-10 and to end the half. Then we come back. And so, look, this is really good, though, because the Dolphins were able to do the double dip, right? They were able to at least get a field goal after the at the end of the first half, and then come out and start off the second half with getting a score. Not just a field goal, but an actual touchdown. So, Dolphins receive the ball to start the third quarter. Then they go down after 9 plays and get a touchdown to make the game 17-10. Patriots then answer with a 14-play drive that ends in a field goal to make the game 17-13. Dolphins then go 3 and out, unfortunately, on their 7th drive of the game. Patriots then kick a field goal after 14 plays to make it 17-16. Then, as you can see here in the 4th quarter, the Dolphins throw, that's when Tua threw his interception, and the Patriots get it back. They march down the field, and they would have scored. They would have scored. Like I said, they at least would have kicked the field goal to go up, 19-17. But on this drive, after 9 plays, we get the fumble because Xavier Howard comes in and saves the day. And then the Dolphins then were able to, they got like one or, I think it was one, but they got 1 or 2 first downs. The Patriots blew all of their timeouts before the 2-minute warning, which was a little strange to me. I would have figured they would have at least kept 1, but they blew all those out, and then they had no more by the time we got to the 2-minute warning, and then they were able to just kneel the ball to get the victory. Just real quick, too, a couple fast injury notes for the game. We did end up coming out relatively healthy overall, which was good, but Raekwon Davis did end up getting a knee injury pretty early in the game, and he ended up being out for most of it. He did come back in at one point, but it was very brief. They ended up putting a knee brace on him too and whatever. And Brian Flores, I think, said today that is still ongoing and they're doing scans and stuff. So let's hope that's not going to be a big deal. Let's hope that he's going to be fine and we're going to be able to have him for the rest of the season, because that would be a pretty big loss if he has to spend any significant time out. Eric Rowe got banged up, but it didn't seem like much of anything. He was just kind of a little slow to get up. Maybe just, I don't know, got the wind knocked out of him or something. He was just kind of like kneeling, or not kneeling, but like squatting down. I don't know. It didn't seem like much of anything because he came back and he played the rest of the game. So, hopefully there's nothing there. And at one point towards the end of the game, Michael Dieter had a little something. The announcers had, said he was slow to get up. He was, after one play, but it didn't seem to affect anything. He remained in the game and he seems to be fine. So hopefully those last two hopefully all of these injuries are nothing and they're not very serious, etc., etc. So, because we need to stay healthy. As you guys know, again, my biggest concerns for this Dolphins team this season are the offensive line, which was a problem today. The injury / COVID situation, which has already affected us to a very high level at this point in the season. And, hopefully that doesn't continue to be the case. And then, then my third biggest thing is the overall depth on this roster, which will get tested, God forbid if we do have injuries. So let's hope we stay healthy, because we're off to a good start, man. We got this victory. It was tough. It was hard fought. And, you know, some of the concerns we have definitely showed through in a big way with that offensive line, a lack of a run game on offense, you know, and then the way that the defense was getting gashed in the run game and so on and so forth. So there's definitely things to clean up, but at least for right now, we can definitely revel in the glory. We got to win, and we do have sole possession of the division as of this week. So look, man, next week we have to play the Bills. You know, it's going to be a quick turnaround. Obviously, I'm not sure. Today's Monday. I don't think that they have practice tomorrow. They may be just doing, like, you know, film study and meetings and stuff like that. I think practice is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but don't quote me on that. Either way, though, the Dolphins, they're obviously going to be getting into game mode here very shortly. And, you know, for the new week. So they're going to start their week of practice and preparation for the Bills, who are going to be coming down to Hard Rock Stadium. It's going to be a home game for us, but it's going to be a tough game, man. It's going to be a really tough game. It's not going to be easy. And as of right now, I still do have the Bills winning that game, but I am hoping that just like in this game, they can come out and prove me wrong. Even if it ends up being sloppy and messy and so on and so forth, you know, I'm going to give you the realistic evaluation, my most realistic evaluation and most accurate evaluation that I can. I'm going to tell you the full picture. I'm going to show you the good, the bad. But if we get the win, that's what I care about. So let's go out and continue that. Hopefully we go 2-0 to take a commanding lead within the division after 2 weeks, and having, beat two of our division rivals, including the team that is expected to win the division, being the Buffalo Bills. So let's go do it. Let's take care of business next week. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. Of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. See y'all soon. Phins up.